with Kiriro Wangugi, who is a public affairs and policy expert, together with Vincent Kimosop, an analyst and governance expert. Thank you very much for staying with us.
Yeah.
All right, so we want to now get into the fact that NASA says that they will not be participating in the vetting of the nominees who will be presented. Of course, like my colleague mentioned there, Murimi Mwangi, is that maybe the vetting that we'll be having will not be as strong, as vibrant as it should be. Do you think it'll have any implications? Let me start with you, Vincent.
You see, you need to appreciate where NASA are coming from. NASA have a political agenda to prosecute. And if you look at it very clearly, it was we need to have dialogue. And at that time, if dialogue was to be held, it was actually, before Uhuru was sworn in, one of the things is how do we constitute the executive? And already they had put in the agenda on the 4th. They said that they want an interim government for a period of 6 months. We carry out the reforms. So now, that interim government target has not been met because Uhuru Kenyatta has been sworn in and he's on his way to forming cabinet. The next thing is how do we ensure that in the formation of government, we have a stake in it. I think for me, that is my analysis. So if they then recommend MPs to those committees to go and vet nominees from Jubilee, what would have happened? Their political pursuit would not have been achieved. So you have to appreciate where NASA is coming from. And I pointed out the person who said this is the minority leader, Mbadi, who of course is the chairman of ODM. He is communicating, is politically communicating. Now, the person who signed for Parliament to come into office was President Uhuru Kenyatta. So, and they were all sworn in. Because at that time, the interest was we have to be sworn in as MPs to take care of our own interests. Politics is about interest. So I would understand where Mbadi is coming from. But the committee will also be formed. So in my view, what Uhuru needs to do is consider what are the cries of the sections of the NASA fraternity, issues of inclusion, what we just pointed out. Now, remember, the preamble of the Constitution says that acknowledging the aspirations of all Kenyans. That's why I pointed out to my brother that at this point, there are no NASA, there are no Jubilee, all of them, we have only one country called Kenya. So in my view is that the people who supported NASA in the last election, it is important that those aspirations are also mirrored and reflected. Remember, Uhuru Kenyatta took an oath that I will serve, I will be faithful to the people and the country of Kenya, and I will do justice to all. So if he speaks to the aspirations also of the NASA fraternity, because when you are
but isn't that complicating everything?
It is not. Can I tell you why? Like I pointed out, when you are having look at the current cabinet, you will appreciate that a critical, like maybe up to how can you have two communities producing maybe over close to 10 cabinet secretaries? Honestly, Betty, those numbers need to go down. That way, he will already be communicating to the NASA fraternity. And it does not necessarily mean you pick people from the opposition, but you can have a cabinet that really reflects and mirrors the face of Kenya.
All right. Interesting.
Every time you hear the term mirror the image of Nigeria, it means trouble. It is people pushing self-interest. Like I said earlier, inclusivity should not be manifested by Betty Chalo sitting in for Kambas. It's total nonsense. And I will say no more about that.
Yes.
However, let me say something about we as a people. There is need for conversation. When we did our bombers, one of the things that ought to have happened that did not happen is a candid discussion as to who are we. One of the things that has happened is that now we know we can say Kamba on live television with no repercussions. There was a time in my time when I was his age, you couldn't say that. The media avoided. You couldn't say Kikuyu night. But we are sufficiently secure now to discuss ourselves and call each other what we are. There is an intellectual dishonesty that does not acknowledge that we are different, but it's throwing away. We are different. Now we know that. We have even acknowledged it in the Constitution. We have said we have acknowledged our diversity and our culture. You know that?
Yes, yes.
We have. So it's coming. We're not there yet. Because the issue that arises, now that we are different, number one, do we still want to live together? Do we? My answer would be yes.
We have no option.
Once we have said yes, and it's not because we have no option, we have an option. We have an option. We don't have to live together. Switzerland is smaller than Central Province. It has 7 million people. We are 9 million. So it is not by way of force. We have to find, once we say we want to live together, we have to go to the next question. Why? Why do different people want to live together? My answer would be, it makes economic sense. It's the size of the market. You want to sell shoes, you want to sell to everybody. The more the merrier.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, it is not that because you love the other guys. Don't love them, just tolerate them. It's enough.
Tolerate them.
Yeah, and do trade with them. Once we have said, yeah, it makes sense, economic sense, then we say, then how are we going to live together? He is struggling with the how. How? And some people have taught him the how is to make the face of Kenya, so that you see a Turkana, you see a Kikuyu, you see, and the numbers. That I disagree with completely. The how will come from, we discuss a foundational philosophy. What thing we did not do is all these questions I'm asking, you can summarize as a foundational philosophy. The same thing we're discussing here, the Mzungus are discussing in Europe without calling it the same thing. Brexit came about because somebody living somewhere in Sussex, you bring a Muslim, and they have been assigned to us by Brussels. They say, no, 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 no. You cannot bring a Muslim here. If you insist, I want out.
I want out. All right. We'll come back to the discussion. I'll have to interrupt.